Hello, ladies, again. For those who are still with us, thank you so much for your fidelity today. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you to our newcomers and those who have been with us that there is a Q&A tool for you to submit any question during the session. Our speaker will take 30 minutes at the end of this live masterclass to answer all of your questions, obviously. So please stay until the end. And without further ado, I'm excited to introduce you, Veronique Bouchard, VP CSR and Engagement at Believe, and Amrita Choudhury, Director of Product Platform Experience at Aviv. Hello, Amrita. Hello, Veronique. Thank you so much for joining us. I
Oh,
can
hi
see
Juliet,
you.
and hello. Can you hear me
Hello.
okay?
I can hear you perfectly. I can see you perfectly. And it's same with you, Veronique.
Hello.
Before we start, I would like to thank you, Coraline Bouillet, for what you just shared about people doing a career reconversion. You are so right. Your value goes beyond your new career. Your value goes beyond because you have experience. You have experience of management. You have experience as a team player. You have an experience that has a value. Always value this in your resume. Always show that all of the things you've learned before are useful to your new company, that you're not a newcomer, that you're not a student just starting a first job. You have a whole career behind you, and this has a huge value. Value this in your resume, in your letter, motivation letters. You have value for companies. Sometimes they don't even know it yet, but trust me, the market is evolving, and you will have the place you deserve. So, Amrita, Veronique, thank you so much for being here. Before we start this conversation, I would like both of you to introduce yourself and explain what you do on a daily basis. If that's okay with you, Veronique, to share your story. What are you doing today? What's your job?
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Juliette, for inviting me. So my name is Veronique Bouchard, and I'm in charge of CSR, so Corporate Social Responsibility and Engagement at Believe Group. And I have an extensive experience in corporate communication and CSR, but more in the industrial sector. And I joined the company 2 years ago, roughly. And so Believe, just a few words about Believe. Believe is one of the leading digital music company. So we help to develop the artists, independent artists and label in the digital world. And we provide a technology platform, but we provide also advice and support to make their music, known and by a large audience throughout the world, and make them increase their reach in terms of audience in the digital world. So we have a pretty significant number of people working in IT and in the data analysis and the digital marketing.
Thank you so much, Veronique. We are so happy to have you because you have a lot of experience in this. You are a manager, so you have a lot of best practices, and I'm sure that you've seen a lot of things in your career. What about you, Amrita? Can you tell those lovely ladies here what you do? What's your job?
Of course, thank you. And thank you, Juliet, and thanks, Veronique, for that. Hi, everyone. I've been following some of the sessions very closely. I love the enthusiasm, love the questions going on. So it's a great topic. I wish I had this like when I started my career. It
Mhm.
would be amazing to have this kind of help. So I really appreciate this, and I'm thank you again for making me a part of this journey. So I've been with Aviv Group for the last 2 years. So as part of Aviv, so Aviv is on this unique journey. It's a transformation that is in place to kind of build the perfect marketplace for finding your houses. So it's a real estate portal for Europe, across Europe. So I lead a team in the platform space where we are trying to build the API marketplace for the future. And API is very obviously technical thing. So been in the STEM career for the last 18 years. And this one is kind of quite close to me because it's part of a lot of countries that we are looking at, different European countries that I manage teams across the board. And my day-to-day job is about building the right products for people like yourself, customers that, building and you're going and buying houses. when you're going and searching for the house. So maybe some of you in France know Celoge. So Celoge is part of a Weave group, or if you are in other parts of Belgium, ImoWeb probably. So those are the portals that come together to make, hopefully, finding your dream house or your rental home better. So that's my job.
That's a beautiful job. That's a beautiful project, especially since COVID now. Our houses took so much room in our lives. So you now understand
Yes.
how important they are, right?
Yes.
Okay, ladies. So what was really interesting today is that we had Christelle, which was working in human resources. We had a coach talking to us about how to negotiate a salary. And now we have two managers, such as you are, in two very different companies and in two different countries. So for us, it's really important to understand, first of all, how does the annual review work in your company? Like, what's the HR role, the manager role? What is the process? Can you explain to us, Amrita?
Sure. I like to believe the Aviv, because I would like to start with Aviv, and then maybe I'll talk about a little bit experiences from outside. But in Aviv, we are an evolving company, so everything is quite evolving. And one good thing about it is that as we are evolving, we're trying to establish really good practices around this annual review process. So very recently, we've done benchmarking of pay. We have done how do we manage gender pay gaps. We are very actively looking into that. So our process is generally, it's a 1 year yearly review, which is basically the HR takes the effort and the time to ensure that we are having those benchmarks in place, so we understand the salary ranges, we understand where the range lies in. So we get a sheet in place for, as a manager, okay, these are your ranges, and then we always have a budget. So we have to remember that everything comes with a budget. We all are under constraint all the time, so that budget comes to us. And once that happens, I believe personally in regular conversations. So that is part of our routine. Like we have regular conversations. I have regular one-to-ones with my team. So it's part of that exercise to kind of get that information, and that kind of feeds into my first level decision of getting that information in that sheet, what we have. And then that gets, obviously goes through different levels, like next two levels, and then it gets agreed. And once that is done, then of course there is a room for negotiation, room for discussion. And then after that, again, we just finalize, and then that gets paid off. So hopefully that gives you a brief idea. Of course, there's a lot of other things that happens.
It does. And what really is important here in Myrta is that what you're explaining is that in your company, everything is structured, which means that if you want to have a raise at the end of the year, they're talking to you all the time. So all the time, you know exactly where your employee stands. The two conference we did before, we were in the scenario where you're basically not having this type of communication, and that you have to prove yourself all year long. But if you're in a company that is organized that way, obviously it's way more comfortable for the end of the year being able to have this kind of conversation in a safe environment. So ladies, try to find companies such as Aviv, which is hiring, and not only try to find companies that are structured in the way the HR process is done. I know it's exactly the same at Believe. Can you tell us more about it, the way it works, Veronique?
Yeah, it's also very well structured, as Amrita, you explained. It's very interesting, and to have this salary quotation, you know, and have a salary range against internal and external benchmark to make sure that you provide, you know, you have equal and fair treatment in terms of salary. Now, as you say, I think that the key step is having this conversation, obviously having, you know, throughout the year, but we also have a very important meetings twice a year, what we call career review, and this is twice a year, which allow to have a fair conversation and honest conversation between the manager and the employee to review the achievement against the objective, to also identify the success, acknowledge the success, recognize the success, the achievement, identify the challenge you may face, and ask for support from the company, from your manager. And I think this conversation is very important, because then at the end of the year, you will be assessed, you know, against this during this performance review. And the other step also, which is important for me, is during Q1, January, is the salary review and the objective settings. This is, again, a conversation that you need to have between your manager and you to define the objective, clear objective, which help then to have a fair performance assessment at the end of the year. So that's why this process and this step is very interesting and very important. What is interesting also is, as you say, Amrita, is that when you have a share and a structured process, then we have, for example, a formula, the same questionnaire for all, which allow to have, again, a fair treatment and avoid, some interpretation, some emotional assessment, because we follow the same question, we follow the same process. And it helps also to provide some very interesting insight and input for the HR to identify people who would need a specific people development program, could be mentoring, coaching, or to identify also some training program.
Thank you, Veronique. We've been talking a lot about emotion today, the emotion of asking for a salary raise, the emotion when you are in this negotiation, facing a no or facing the wrong behavior. So it's really important to have this process in place and those type of structured questions, so that there is no room for subjectivity, only objectivity, only key results, only the facts of what you're worth. And this is really precious, ladies. Find companies that are structured, please. That's avoid you a lot of work. And we've been talking a lot about what it means, what salary means. And I know, Amrita, when we prepared this conversation, you told me, to me, salary is not only, it's not only about the money, it's not only about the pay. So what is salary to you?
Yeah, I'm very passionate about this. Okay, so because over years I've kind of realized that, because we've been talking about this, right? You've been raising this quite a few times. Hey, look at the right company, see what you're happening. And the right company is not about always, and kind of also disagree when something is coming lower to you. You need to check what else. So salary, okay, one part of it is pay, the money. That's absolutely important. It's that you need it for your, that's why we're all working, of course. But and that salary pay is, of course, and everybody stops at base pay and negotiation. Remember, you were all saying 20%, 30%. How many of you actually make an attempt to go and see what other benefits you get out of it? Do you get remote working? What kind of flexibility do you get? Are you able to travel? Are you able to take leaves? Are you able to? These are things that matter later on. It, in the beginning, when you're having the conversation, the first 3 month probation, it all is hunky-dory, it all works out. The other part of the story is that your base pay, and a lot of us women, and me guilty, we don't think about pensions, we don't think about investment that we can do, health insurance. These are things you should ask for. These are important. Maternity benefits. A lot of people, when we join forces, we don't think about these things because it doesn't affect you. It affects you later on. And then you start negotiating, which is, you should think about these things even before, like, how is that company doing in that space? So salary is, of course, your pay, of course, money, but it is all the other benefits that come with it. Whether do you get training options? This one thing I always look for, because what are my training options? Will I get sponsored to go to conferences? Will I get sponsored to go to a 15 tech? Maybe you get sponsored to go and discuss, go to this kind of camping, because it's important for you to grow. And this is something that it's very important for us to kind of force it in and look beyond that. Of course, look, really, really push your base pay. You have to get that high. And I always push for a base pay. But apart from that, look for everything else that comes with it. So that's, to me, salary.
Exactly. Thank you for specifying it. And the two speakers before went into a lot of depth to explain that, because it's really important. It's not only about the money you get, it's the whole way you live in your company. It's your daily basis, so you have to be comfortable in every way. About that, when we on 15 Tech, all of the companies we work with, so if you look at the link of Believe and Aviv, which are in the conversation here, you can see their jobs, but also you'll see the way we build the company pages. We explain to all of our community members what the company does on all of those levels, not only money, but flexibility, work-life balance, promotion, trainings. All of this we share with you because we know that money is just not enough. There is way more than the money. There is the whole savoir-être, the well-being on a daily basis that matters. What about you, Veronique? Can you complete that answer?
Yeah, exactly is what I was about to say, is that in fact, in addition to what you say, Amrita, about the benefits, what is interesting, two other, as you say, training, but more than training, but the opportunity of having career development. How you see yourself in this company, maybe in 2 or 3 or 4 years, and ask questions. What type of opportunity you may have in terms of career development, in terms of training, in terms of coaching. Would you have some opportunity to work on transversal project and so on? So that's something interesting. And just to jump on what you say, Juliette, I think that also I would look at the culture and values of the company and ask what type of values they have. I know it's not easy, but try to figure out how is it in place and put into practices. So for example, here we have 4 driving forces called expertise, transparency, fairness, and equity. And we have a strong CSR strategy focused on diversity and inclusion, and with a specific focus on gender equality. And it's interesting to see that the CEO also supports this commitment. And this type of question that you can ask, it gives you a flavor whether or not you think that in terms of culture, the company is open to diversity and inclusion. Do you think that it helped to create a safe and more female inclusive working environment, which is very important for us?
I agree. And this actually takes me back to the next question I had for you. When you talk about support, what are you doing in your company to help people be prepared to ask for a raise? Is it mentorship? How does that go? Like, how do you work on this support of your employees? Amrita or Veronique, I don't know who wants to start.
Okay, I'll have a go. I think that was a great point about values and culture, because that kind of reflects there's a little bit of homework we always have to do when you're looking for a company, right? Like, go talk to people, probably find people who are already working on it, and they'll tell you the values and culture in the place, and see if that fits what you want. And also the fact that, look at the leadership. You will find out, are there women leaders? Are there people? So that kind of helps you tell a story there. It's very easy to find out if they're inclusive or not in that story. So what we do, mentorship, big yes. There's nothing more powerful than mentorship, I think. We take it very lightly, but it actually, some of us take it lightly and don't pay attention, don't find time to do it. You should really make it your goal in life to have a mentor, or at least 2 mentors, and help you out. So we are trying to launch a mentorship program here, but we generally have mentors around. The 2 things that I think Aviv has done recently is Aviv Evolve, which is essentially trying to explain to you your skill sets. It's quite detailed, actually tells you, like, so I'm in product, right? So if I'm a director of product, what kind of skill set I need? If I'm a senior product manager, what kind of skill set I need? If I'm a product manager, so it's very detailed, different skill set, helps you explain. And not because we want to put you into numbers or quadrants or things, it just helps you to understand, what do I need to do? What kind of examples can I have? So it gives you a little bit of a way to, hey, I think I can do this now. So it gives you that better way of conversing, right? Because you told me this is my skill set list. So this helps you to have that conversation a little more scientifically, a little more objectively, like you said, as opposed to removing that emotion quotient out of it, because you say, these are my 5 points. I think I'm doing this here. This is my example for this. This is where I did this. This is where I did this. So that conversation is far more easier. So that's Aviv Evolve. We also have Aviv Grow, giving clear career paths, right? Like, so that's a very important thing, right? So what career path, what's your next step? What's your, a lot of people think that, okay, career path is like just managing people. Sometimes you don't want to manage people, right? And you should know that. Like, sometimes people just, okay, if I'm managing, that's not, you can be a very, very strong lead individual contributor and still have an amazing career path. So understanding those career paths. So we have Aviv Grow for that, which is kind of, and it's all evolving, right? Like, these things are being built, ensuring, and we take a lot of feedback. I think that ways I would say Aviv is amazing. We take feedback and we try to change things quite quickly to make sure it helps the audience. So that's another thing that we're doing. And in general, just the ability to have regular conversations. Let's
Yeah.
not remove the importance of that. I really push my team for this. It's not about emotion. It's not about being being the nice one for your manager, but it's just about keeping your manager updated. Managing up is very important. Keeping your manager updated, making sure that, because as a manager, I can't be in every place that you're in, but this is your time to have that conversation. Hey, I did this. This is where I'm doing that, so I'll keep you in my mind. So that keeps happening. That conversation is so important to keep making that, and we encourage that. So in Aviv, it's a normal rule. Like we have one-to-one, bi-weekly, weekly. It depends on the availability of how the team wants to take it, but that's a norm to kind of take us through that process.
And it's so very agreeable to hear that the career path and the way you're gonna evolve, ladies. The next step is not only in management, especially in tech profiles. Actually, it's
Yes.
so much different. And actually, when you are in a recruitment process, don't hesitate to ask that also. Don't hesitate to ask if there is a career path, and don't hesitate to ask how you're gonna be able to grow, because then you'll have a visibility on how the company perceive that subject. I know that you, Veronique, how do you help people?
Yeah, I agree with what has been said. And more than career path, we speak about career journey. And as you say, the path is not, you do not need necessarily to have a promotion of being manager, but you have many, many different opportunities to grow and to increase your expertise by training, by participating to transversal project and so on. So it's more in question of career journey than only necessarily a career path. Yes, the training for sure, and the training also and the preparation in advance to any conversation you will have with HR people and with your manager. So prepare in advance what you want to say, make your own self-assessment regarding career review, regarding salary review and so on, and objective setting. Don't wait, your manager to prepare and to have the discussion. This is your responsibility to prepare in advance and to engage a conversation with your manager. You can also have discussion with HR to really understand the salary range structure. And as you say, Amrita, to really understand also what would be the next step and what the type of skills would be requested to go to the next step. And then what could be interesting also is to discuss with similar people who already has this job, this responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah, it provides you a lot of insight to understand, okay, what are the pros and the cons of the job? What are the challenges? What type of skills you already have that you think it will perfectly fit this new job, or the skills that you need to acquire. And this, I think that it's very powerful for you to come to the HR and to your manager, to the next future manager, to say, okay, here, this is where I want to go. Here, where am I good at? And I know that I still need to have, some support to progress, to make some progress. But it's very powerful and very strong for you if you know exactly where you need to go and what type of progress you have to make.
Exactly. And Veronique, you're wonderful because once again, you're giving me the pass for the next question that I have that is quite linked. Everything that is linked with mentorship and sponsorship programs. Everything that is linked to the people that can inspire you and give you all of the best practices. From your perspective, Veronique, how can mentorship and sponsorship programs, contribute to supporting women in negotiating better compensation packages, and what impact have you observed in Believe?
So we have a mentoring programs organized by employee volunteer, what we call the ambassadors, supported by the HR people. And so it helps to prepare the career review, for example, but it can help also to prepare the conversation about salary increase, or it helps to prepare for the next step or take on a new position. In fact, the way I see it is that it helps the woman to get more confidence, to increase the self-confidence in the ability to discuss, to negotiate, and also to be prepared for the next step. And also, I think it gives a strong signal from the company to all people to say, hey, you have here the possibility to grow, and we acknowledge the fact that it's not always easy for women, and we want to create a safe and a supportive environment for women.
Mm. Amrita, I know you've been talking a bit about this. Would you like to add something about what Veronique just said?
Yeah, I think about mentorship, it's very, again, something that I think we all don't pay attention to it too much, and we should really take it, because you said something, I think it was Veronique or maybe Juliet, you, but we are the owners of our career. I think career journey, that's what you're doing. It's not your manager, it's not your manager's manager, it's not the company. You own your career. So this is your job to get mentors. Like I cannot emphasize this more, because when you are in an organization, and organization dynamics, politics, it happens. You can join the best company on this earth, it is there. Okay, I've been
Yeah.
through a lot, and it is there. You can join a 2 people company, there'll still be politics. Okay, it is obvious, because we are humans. Okay, so you need to have a mentor which helps you with this navigation, because they know this, they would have seen this. Hey, that's not where you should go, this is the right people to talk to, it's very important. So get a mentor who helps you with this kind of organizational dynamics, understanding it. Not, maybe it's not even in your organization, but talk to someone else. Me coming in to a very different culture in European culture, I am talking to someone who is helping me understand how to manage different people of different culture, because it's important to get that kind of perspective, understanding from others. So that, to me, is what mentorship is about. Second, I think Veronique mentioned very confidence. I think all of us, we're all confident people, but when 3 other people say you're amazing, I think your confidence gets crippled, right? It's a normal human rule. Like if you now hit me with 5 hearts, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing the right thing, right? You have to get that support from others. So that is why you need this mentor. You need to get support. You need to get that, because they will talk about you. Like I think you said, go to 5 different places and it joins you here, and they'll be like, I know this girl. She's been looking for this opportunity. Let's get her here.
Exactly. We were
That's what I
talking
meant.
about that personal branding, allies in the company. Never step down on one person only. Don't rely only on your managers, especially if you're in a
Yes,
big company. Talk
never.
to people that can help you. That's really one of the best things we
Network.
do today. Exactly. Network.
And
Yeah.
that
And you
kind of links. Sorry, go ahead, Julia.
No, I just wanted to say a lot of ladies are sharing their LinkedIn profiles in this discussion. Continue on doing this, lady. Add yourself on LinkedIn.
Yes,
Network.
and you don't know who's where, right? And the last one is just knowing your market value. I think a lot of you guys were asking, like, should I put 20%, 10%? Just knowing where you stand, because when you talk to people, when you find others, you converse, you talk, and your mentors are the people who can help you get connected to others. Like I mentor somebody, it was just, he had a very simple, it was guys, but he had a very simple question, and I was like, oh, my team is doing this, so I just connected them, and now he has something. So it was not like I wanted to do extra or something. Sometimes you just know somebody, and then you connect people, and that's where it is so important. I think mentorship, I find these are my 3 takeaways when I think about, okay, and also you have to choose your mentors so that you get
Yeah,
the right value out of it, because this is your time too. So try out, talk to other people. They should have time, you should have time, but you should have time most. That's so important. Follow up
exactly.
and pressurize the mentor. That's very important.
But it's also about the company's behavior. Like when we prepared this, ladies, we've been talking a lot about the unconscious bias. Today, we've been talking a lot about the subjectivity in the conversation. What step can organization take to address the unconscious bias that may impact salary negotiation and create a more equitable process for all employees, whatever the gender? What would you say, Veronique, about those unconscious bias? We've been learning a lot lately. The last 3 years, we've been talking all about this. What's your advice on this one?
Yeah, fully agree. And what we do at Believe is very interesting, is that we have created what we call Be Fair training, which is a training dedicated to understand, the stereotype and the bias that you may have. and try to deconstruct this bias. And it's mandatory when you join the company, so it's part of the onboarding program. And the objective is to make sure that all managers go through this Be Fair training. And also all employees. And you learn a lot through this. It helps to be more self-conscious of your own bias, and then understand how you can react, and again engage the conversation and try to put yourself on the shoes of the other one, without any judgment, but really with the consciousness of this existing bias. What we are doing also is that we have obviously leadership training for managers, and we are right away in the process to review the content of the leadership training, make sure that we can instill and embed some D&I, so diversity and inclusion, and anti-bias training throughout the path, throughout the managerial practices. So it's not to make sure that it's fully embedded in the managerial practices. And what we have also is that we have a Speak Up campaign, and we took a strong stand regarding discrimination and harassment. There is zero tolerance regarding discrimination. We just launched a huge internal campaign to explain what is about discrimination and harassment, and how to speak up to trigger the whistleblowing protocol alert, or ask your HR some support. And part also of Your Voice, which is our engagement and satisfaction survey, we have specific questions regarding diversity. Do you feel comfortable to be as you are, at Believe? And we ask also some questions regarding discrimination, harassment, and this alert protocol. And when we see that there are some bad answer, to be honest, then we take the measure, and we have a very thorough investigation process.
That's amazing. The anti-harassment policies, especially, because to be honest, it's still very rare in the companies. And I know that most of the women that sometimes are afraid for their jobs, and so they don't say it out loud. Those type of behaviors that obviously come from those unconscious bias and from discrimination. So that's an amazing tool that you're talking about. And it's really necessary. I think now every single company should have it. Whatever the size of the company is, there should be someone you can talk to. What's your advice, Amrita, on this, the unconscious bias that happens within the salary negotiation moment?
I think one thing is, two things that Veronique mentioned was the training part of it that we also have with unconscious bias, and then there is the whole bit around speaking up, ensuring that that happens. So I want to I'll probably come down to that point again, but the first thing is about being objective, right? So how do you it's a very important part of even as a manager, when you are discussing and having these discussions, how do you bring in objectivity to it? So that removes the bias. So like I was talking about, like you have those skills here, this is what I did, have your clear examples based on that, having very specific questions like Veronique was mentioning. So that kind of helps you to drive exactly, you ask the same question to the same people. You're not saying, okay, that's because he's that or she's that, I'm going to think about it like that. So it's difficult. I am going to say this is human. I am not saying there's a silver bullet answer. Okay, every manager is different. Every person is different. We are all victims. Okay, so of this, when we have this conversation, but in general, as you start doing this on a regular basis, you'll see that with time and training, this goes away. And the second part is speaking up, which is what Veronique was talking about. I feel as a manager, this is one thing I personally believe in, because I've been victim to this in the past, speaking up. Because when you see something going wrong in any forum, even if it is in your one-to-one conversation, in your in a meeting, you see somebody else or you heard about something, we're very scared to speak up. And the moment you don't speak up, these things it's not known.
Yeah, are not valued.
Not valued. And I think I wrote a blog along some time back. An untold story is not a story, right? So if you don't tell people, doesn't exist, it vanishes. So you have to speak up, you have to tell people, you have to let people know And that's the only way it can change. Sometimes you remember this is unconscious. The person is not doing it maybe knowingly. But if you don't speak up, if you don't tell somebody, how will that person get that feedback? How will that change? So
Right.
that's something that we are trying to, like, at least in my team, I do tell my team, like, whenever we have these conversations, please be open. And as managers, my job is to be open about this. There is no such thing as ego. Like, you take feedback, you learn, and move forward. Similarly, you learn with your same thing. That's what you should do. And learn to have open conversations with your manager. Don't keep it within yourself, because not everybody knows everything, right? So that's the only way I think you can remove the bias in that whole discussion, because it's an informed choice. There's objective discussion that's happening at that point.
Exactly. And if you are in a company, ladies, where you don't have all of those things put in place, find your allies in the company that can help you fight this. The people that you can trust to talk to, like try to find those people and take a moment with them to tell them what happened and to ask them for their help. Because when you do, then you may find allies where you would not suspect it. And if you don't have anything put in place like those two beautiful companies, then find a way to find someone internally that will support you and that will give you a voice if you're afraid to do so. That's okay. I have one question, gathering two questions about salary transparency, but also about so I know the salary transparency one is a very tricky one. We had this conversation before when we were preparing this conference. It's a very tricky question. So what do you do when it comes to salary transparency to help women being informed to do this negotiation? And do you have anything in place for the salary gap in your companies, Veronique, on your side?
Yeah, as we discussed, it's not easy to have a full transparency in terms of salary, and to be honest, I think it's not realistic because you have to manage very different legacy, very different job population, job family, different countries, and so on. Now, what is important is to have more the transparency between the manager, the employee, and the HR. So you can really understand, again, what we say earlier is the salary guidelines and salary range, how it has been built, defined based on internal and external benchmark. So that's important. And you can have a very transparent conversation with your HR and with the manager, and make your own job, I would say, to look at externally also based on your experience, what could be your expectation in terms of salary. And the way we try to fill in the gap when we see there are some gaps. So there is a different steps. As I explained, the salary range guidelines, clear based on benchmark, and clear job description and skill set. The second point is that salary range for hiring, again, to make sure that we ask, obviously, the salary, but also the expectation based on the external benchmark. And the objective is to have competitive salary and attractive, but fair also. The annual compensation review, so it's the process, as I explained, when we review all the salary, make sure that with the HR people, make sure that there is no discrepancy, no gap between men and women by job family. And when we see a gap, then we put in place what we call adjustment, salary increase, catch up, to make sure that we catch up. And then also identify, as part of the salary increase budget, people who should be increased due to their performance for merit, or people that should be increased also because there is a promotion, for example, a new promotion. So there is a very clear process and very structured process throughout the year to make sure that we do not end up, at the end of the year or 3 years with a very big discrepancy, and making sure that we fill in the gap between women and men.
Okay, that's so
and
good.
maybe also, sorry, maybe also what we do is that we look at the people, women coming back from maternity leave, to make sure that they have an increase similar to the one that, to the teams or to the same job category during the year.
That's so good. We had this question actually, Veronique, today about maternity leave and coming back from maternity leave. And that's amazing that you're doing it, because most of companies don't. And then you're paying for having a kid but unfortunately we cannot do any other way since we are the one bearing them. So that's a good news. Okay, what about you, Amrita at Aviv, if you want to complete what just explained Veronique from Believe?
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, the maternity one is always a fun one, right? Like it's
Yeah.
very difficult. But transparency, yeah, it is very tough to be completely open and publish everything. Of course, I was really surprised and I loved it. Yesterday, I joined in the first half of the boot camp where they were talking about this and this becoming a rule in Europe that we have to do it. And I think that's amazing if that happens. And I'm really looking forward to it. It'll you know, and I would love to see how we do it. But transparency, it's difficult because exactly what Bernard said, because it's a lot of factors, like, and I had this question also, like, because with performance and other factors, like, you know, everybody's not doing the same um, job. In the end of the day, there is a subjective element to all our jobs. It's not always that, okay, you put X and the Y is the output, and then hence you can have exactly the same level or discussion, or, you know, there's a lot of other things that make up a salary decision pay. So it's a tricky one. But what we do, and we have just, in fact, I love we for doing this, because they gave us this benchmark with other all the other in across the different companies within each country. Now you can't do it across countries. Again, that is another factor, right? Like within across countries, you have different cost of living. Even like if you look at our parity indexes, that's a problem across just economically. Okay, so that's one thing. And then the second is just gender pay gap is something we have done right now. We're consciously trying to ensure that everybody is paid equally. It was such a beautiful exercise which I've done. I just finished actually, and you know, putting that everybody on the same equal pay range, especially for females, that's so important. And companies acknowledging that is critical, and we are absolutely doing that. But transparency is about having that conversation, which I've been talking about a lot. I think the more transparent you are in that conversation with your manager, with other people, what you're doing, showcase self-advocacy. We are very bad at advocating ourselves, especially women. And I think I was telling this when we were preparing for this, that, you know, I've learned this lesson in life. Like, we just assume that we will do stuff and everybody will come and say, hey, you are amazing, you're good. This is that recognition is not going to come to you. You
Yeah.
have to talk about it, and
Thank
we
you.
have to really good at it. We have this imposter syndrome all the time. Oh, I'm not good for it. I have not. Maybe I'm not fit. Half of the guys don't think of it. They just go, "This is me. I'm going to do it." And we have to get to that point. We have to be self-advocating, talking about ourselves. And when you do that regularly, this comes naturally to you. You know, it will naturally happen. Okay, that's the person. I know she's going to, you know, it comes later on. It comes like, she's going to ask for this. I have to prepare myself. Your manager, I know for which person I have to prepare, that she's going to ask for it. That's because you've been having that conversation, and that transparency has come. She's going to ask me for that raise. I
Yeah.
know it already. So that conversation is easier. And then I know how I can manage. So I really advocate that. Like, tell your manager from before. If you're aspiring for something, tell them from before, because then they can prepare you. You can prepare
Exactly.
yourself, and never take, you know, no is not an answer. I think take a no and then work towards the next step. Like, always stay at the table.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
And
The
you can
thing,
prepare them also.
correct, prepare them. So the first time you say no and we take failure and we're like, shit, this is not going to work. I don't like it. This is not. I think we need to learn that, yes, the first time is a no, but the second time I'm going to make it a yes. And stay at the table, stay at there, prepare for it. Because once
Exactly.
you've told them that, they're going to keep it in mind. Remember, managers don't forget. Every manager
Mhm.
wants you to succeed because they succeed because of that. So
Exactly.
it's that play that you have to make sure that you work towards. So
I
that to me is
agree.
transparency.
Thank you, Amrita. And we've been late. Those ladies has been sending you so much hearts and love for this. So thank you so much. Because I agree with you like 1,000%. I have one more question about your company per se. What is your company doing to publicize this so that women are aware of all of those beautiful actions? What's on your side, Veronique? What is Believe doing so that women inside and outside the company knows. Obviously, working with 15 Tech, which is a great decision. But other than this,
Yeah, for sure. So there is a very fact-based communication we do, and we publish our gender index, which is mandatory in France. And to be honest, we are proud of progress we made, because we were at 58 or 56 in 2028. 2018 something, and then today we are at 99 out of 100 for a second year in the row, which is very interesting, and demonstrate, that to make this change happen, you need to review completely your HR process, and making sure that among all your HR process, and as part of your values, as part of managerial practices, as part of your culture, you are gender equity focused. So I think it's interesting. And what we do, obviously, we communicate on the website. What is important also is to showcase some testimonial, some role model, and not only men, but obviously women. We also organize internally some webinar regarding gender equity, and we have also our ambassador program where people can have some activities dedicated to gender equity or diversity and inclusion. So there is different activities that allow to keep, this topic at the higher, one of the highest priority of Believe.
okay, that's amazing. And it's important to showcase it. Ladies, you need to be aware of this all the time. So you need to make sure that the company you work with has this sense of communication. What about you, Amrita?
I think we are not as great as Belief. I think we're aspiring towards being there, but I mean, it's every company goes through this journey, right? And what it takes is to be sure that the company is investing into this. So one thing is we have a D&I unit. In fact, I mean, we have it in we have 4 networks into the D&I, very focused on gender equality, and I'm the lead for that one. Then you have different areas for accessibility in different areas. So this you should notice that there is consistent investment in this space, which means that's why we are here with 15 Tech, with other organizations that we are arranging, and we have a sponsorship from C-suite level. So this is like a conversation that happens at a C-suite level. It's not like, okay, there's a group happening, there's activities happening. So that's the kind of commitment, and they're basically judged on that. So that's this very, very critical, that what is their goals and objectives, and if that actually is there, and it's there in my goals and objectives too, to be diverse, be inclusive. It's not just having my performance, but it's also about, as a leader, it's one of my key goals to be inclusive, and so it's part of our objectives. So that's critical. And the second is we have the similar things. We have events, we have different ways of showcasing how we are a part of this journey. We had a very big event in Paris recently. In Le Trion, we had the whole powerhouse, and we spoke about this very openly. We had a panel discussion in this where we talked about inclusivity. So very, very focused events structures that we are doing to make sure this works. And we haven't published numbers yet, but we are aspiring towards that, I'm sure. And this is something that the RHRs are, but we are actively looking at making that pay gap reduced, because that's, and I'm just telling freshly, like literally, I got my spreadsheet yesterday. I'm going to start discussing with my teams, but this is what we worked on. So it's a commitment that everybody has, and it is a continuous process. Things are not going to happen overnight, but it's happening.
It never is perfect. Never look for perfection. You won't find it, because per definition, a company cannot be perfect. It has been built by humans that are imperfect. So obviously, but still, you both companies, I'm really glad to have you by our sides on 15 Tech, because I'm really, really proud to showcase today what you both are doing. And as women also being ambassadors of this. Last question I have for you, mainly about that, is like, as managers, we have been asking a lot of questions today about the restraints in budgets. How do you navigate that as a manager? How do you navigate budget constraints while ensuring fair compensation for your team's members? How do you work on this? Veronique, what's your challenges in that part, and how do you make sure of this even in a complicated year such as this one?
Yeah, it's not easy. That's true. So that's why when you are able to use and to use a very structured approach and a fact-based approach, it helps to avoid some emotional discussion or decision. As a manager, it helps you also to explain why someone might not have some salary increase you would have expected or she would have expected. So again, based on the salary guidelines, on the salary range, to make sure that it's fair against internal and external benchmark. Look at the employee performance against clear and transparent objective that you would have set earlier in the beginning of the year, and look at the performance and the promotion. So that helps. And then also maybe anticipate and see for the two or three next years, because then you know that, for example, this person won't have a salary increase for this year because you have some constraint budget for sure, but you know that you will be able to maybe, grant a salary increase for the year after, and support them, also support her or the person to provide some extra, benefits. Coming back to the conversation we had regarding salary is not only about salary, but it's about benefits and opportunity to grow. So maybe providing some specific training, putting this person on the transversal topics and so on. So there's different way to recognize and acknowledge the performance and the commitment of the person managing, in this constraints of salary budget.
Thank you for that answer that I think was very, very uh, our ladies today were very, very much waiting for this, because it has been a huge question today about this economical situation. What about you, Amrita? Would you have an answer for this one?
For me, I think Veronique, summed it really well about the other side, like managing the expectation of the person who's asking for it. There's the other side also. Sometimes we as managers have to fight it out. The budget, like sometimes it's difficult, and hence it comes back to that whole story. Transparency, because you are empowering your manager with that business case to go fight the case for you. So if I can, this is also something I tell my team, that if I don't have to even fight for you, like if it is so obvious that X is so good that I just have to say X is the person, and then my fight is easier, right? Like I can say this business case, maybe we will cut down costs here so that I can have this person. Can you see how much benefit this person? And we just did this where this person has literally changed the ball game in a particular market that we're operating in, and we literally work towards, like, how can we give that person enough recognition that they stay with us and also get that extra salary, because you can absolutely recognize that even if it is outside the budget. So sometimes managers do fight the budget ground. So it is absolutely possible for your manager to fight constraints. So please do understand that, to know that it's not always, it's this X because there's a way, but to enable your manager to fight it, right? There are two things. You need to be very sure that you have told that story regularly, that first you have shown that aspiration. So, you're kind of putting a manager, you're setting a goal for your manager from the beginning, like, oh shit, I have to go and ensure that this person gets promoted, of course, with everything, performance and everything in play. So that's a goal for the manager, right? So I'm going to make sure that I fight that case, and then make sure that I fight that ground. So you have to give those pointers and that business case. So that I think is important, and kind of to have that in place, and know that is what I try to do, at least as a manager. And I know a lot of my managers have done that in the past. So knowing that is important, that your managers can fight it, so do enable them and find your data points for it.
Thank you so much. I think this will be the end point of this conversation, because I love it. It's very powerful. Thank you, Amrita. Thank you, Veronique, so much for your time, for your best practices. It was the perfect way to end the day, to be honest. Before you go, I have 3 questions for you. The first one from Olga is, do you hire remotely at Aviv?
Great question. Thanks, Olga. So just so you know, I'm in the UK and Aviv is in the Europe. So the answer is in that answer. But yes, we have some restrictions about some countries. So please, Olga, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Happy to have a conversation. And if you're interested in any role, I can link you to the right person. But yes, we do hire remotely, but I need to know where you are. And if you're in France, happy days, you can just come,
And
but
Olga,
work
I have
remotely.
the link of the job offers at Aviv on 15 text. Don't hesitate to check it out. And then once you see the jobs you want, don't hesitate to ask for help from Amrita. Thank you for that. Rose has a question for you. How would you know all the benefits that you can ask for that company offer? Since each company has different priorities, who is the best person to ask? Both of you ladies, of course.
I would say that during the hiring process, you can ask very transparently and direct questions to the talent acquisition manager. I mean,
Yeah.
at different step, and maybe also at the different step and the different people you will meet. Ask the questions. I assume that you can also look at the Glassdoor, for example, or some other website. You can also look at the Carry website, and sometimes also, depending on the company, you may have some interesting document, more corporate document, and you can look at some annual report. And depending if the company is listed, you may have a very more precise information and fact-based indicators that you could look at. And by the way, we also hire people remotely at Believe.
Hey, okay, ladies, you have 2 great companies. I cannot advise you more than to apply. Like they really have beautiful cultures, and they really care about women in tech. So please don't hesitate to apply, and don't hesitate to reach out to Veronique and Amrita if you did apply. This is networking, and it is how it works too. I have one more question for you, ladies. As a new graduate student from university, how to determine that the first salary is fair and not reduced because it's your first job?
Tough one,
Yeah.
but um, but I'll go back to when I got out of college. So one thing is that again, you need to do research. Okay, you own your career. You need to do research. You need to go find out. And it's actually in colleges generally, if it is a campus hire, then you kind of already know what's the package going on. Like there's always this conversation, right? Like this is the highest package, this person got it or whatever. So keep an eye open. But if it's not a campus hire and you're just out of college, um, talk to other people in that company. The best thing is actually hit people on LinkedIn, because when you are new, when you're a first time college graduate, actually people are very open to have conversations. I'm not kidding you. It is true. I personally talk to a lot of people in college. I recently did a college degree too, and I talked to a lot of people in that college. Like, I talked to them, and they were interested in talking to me. And like, okay, what should I was doing it with my job, and I was doing my degree. And I met a lot of other people who said like, hey, how do I, so talk to people who are already, there might be executive programs going on within your college. Talk to those people, because those are people who will be already working somewhere, and they will know what is your salary. So find those kind of discussions is important. And sometimes, when you're looking at your first job and the company and all these other things that we were talking about is more important sometimes than just the salary. So being in the right place at the right time sometimes is very important to give you that career growth quite quickly, as opposed to, so just don't get hung up on that salary, right? Like it is important, of course, but always see the opportunities that come with the entire ecosystem, right? That's very important. Like I would have to, sometimes you have to say, like, if it's an ecosystem versus salary, go for the ecosystem, because that will make you get that salary twice quicker, and you'll be stuck here. So I personally believe in that a lot. Ecosystem is so important for you to grow. So invest in that. And that's what you need to find out, rather than, a 10%, 2%. In the future, it'll shoot up. I'm telling you with experience.
Yeah,
It's very important.
I agree. these are the part of the question you should ask yourself. What matters the most for me? Some people it's just the salary and they don't really care about their coworkers, etc. That's fine. Depends of your personality, etc., and your priorities in life. But think about what matters the most: the flexibility, the salary, the workplace, the location, the managers. What matters the most from the top to the bottom, so that then when you are in a negotiation or in a recruitment process, you will be able to choose more easily. Veronique, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, fully agree. And I think that if you ask also the questions, if the company has a strict and structured salary range guidelines, it gives you some confidence that you should have a fair first salary as a new joiner. And again, as you say, identify the company where you think you can grow and you can increase your experience, and then that will help you to have more increased salary in the future. For the first step is really get a good manager and good experience.
Yeah, exactly. Well, ladies, I'm really sad to tell you that this is going to be the end of this beautiful masterclass. It's going to be the end of this beautiful boot camp. We hope you've enjoyed it. A big thank you to you, to Christelle, to Maeva for sharing your knowledge, for your insight with us, because it's been very helpful. And I know those ladies are sending you love and fireworks because everybody's really happy for the time you gave us today, even if I'm sure you have a lot of things to do. So a huge thanks to you ladies, and a huge thanks to you ladies for joining us today, for listening to all of those best practices. Replays will be available in the next days, so we will notify you by email. Subscribe on 50 Intake to make sure that you receive all of the replays, to share in your communities, share in your network what you've seen today. It's important to spread the good words. If you have any additional question or comments, please feel free to reach out to us at 50 Intake. We need your feedback. We need you to tell us what you need, what your needs are, so that we can try and improve the tech universe. And we've also been sending you a survey here that I'm going to send you again in the chat for you to give us your feedbacks about this event. Once again, thank you. Thank you for bearing me for 3 hours also. And thank you for being part of this 15 Tech community. This is really important for us to gather. This is sorority, sisterhood. We need to be gathered and we need to stick to each other to make things move. So thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. I wish you a beautiful afternoon, and I wish you a big raise and promotion at the end of the year, thanks to this moment. Have a beautiful end of the day. Thank you, Veronique. Thank you, Amrita.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Gonna see
Take
you
care.
very soon.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye, ladies. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much.